Great Demon King. Chapter 37. Ferocious Han Shuo. Brian, it's Brian, the students exclaimed in shock, their voices echoing through the tense atmosphere. Even Fanny was momentarily dumbfounded as she stared unfamiliarly at Han Shuo. She had never imagined that someone of his modest 170 cm at height could wield such a thick, studded club with such prowess, effortlessly blocking a savage attack. Her mind raced to reconcile this unexpected display of strength with her previous perception of him as merely an errand boy. While everyone stood shell-shocked, Han Shuo remained unfazed. He stared fixedly at the man-eating monster, his eyes cold and calculating. Slowly, he reached out with his right hand to give Fanny a push, his voice steady and honest. "Hurry and run." A shrill, panicked scream rang out from Fanny's mouth. In that split second, Han Shuo felt the softness of two large cotton-like balls beneath his hand. Realizing his mistake, he immediately retracted his hand, understanding that he had pressed down on the wrong place. Embarrassment flushed his cheeks as he looked at Fanny, who was now extremely irate and about to berate him. The students on the side were giving soft exclamations as Jean cursed loudly, denouncing Han Shuo's wanton boldness. Han Shuo's heart lurched as he turned to look at Fanny and said awkwardly, "Sorry, Master Fanny, I pushed in the wrong place. I really didn't mean to." Fanny's anger was palpable as she prepared to unleash her frustration on him. But suddenly, she sensed the man-eating monster behind her. Its large studded club was already coming down towards Han Shuo, and she quickly warned, "Brian, be careful." With traces of dull honesty still on his face, Han Shuo reacted instantly. He turned around and raised the club that was disproportionately large for his frame. The club whistled through the air as he swung it violently towards the man-eating monster. Clang! Sparks flew again as Han Shuo didn't budge an inch, staying firmly put like an erect stone. The image of his thin frame clutching the massive studded club was etched into everyone's minds, leaving the students staring at him with bewildered expressions. "Master Fanny, hurry and get out of there." Jean's loud yell pierced the chaos, and Fanny finally reacted. Her beautiful eyes, still locked on Han Shuo, followed him as he prepared to face the impending threat. She retreated swiftly towards Jean and the others, her instincts kicking in to protect herself and the group. After exchanging blows twice with the man-eating monster, Han Shuo felt an overwhelming urge to unleash his pent-up emotions. A faint desire to kill surged in his heart, driving him to fully release the power within his body. His face twisted into a grimace, reflecting a sinister determination as he prepared to mash the man-eating monster into a meat pie. Han Shuo suddenly gave a few chilling laughs as soon as Fanny had vacated the area. The dumb honesty that once defined his demeanor vanished, replaced by a grim and scarily determined expression. He raised the thick, studded club with a darkened face and rushed headlong towards the confused man-eating monster. The man-eating monster couldn't comprehend why Han Shuo, with his frail body, could withstand two of its heavy hits. It stood there dumbly, as if contemplating something beyond its immediate rage. "Oh my goodness, Brian must be crazy. He's rushing towards the man-eating monster," Bella exclaimed softly, her face etched with incredulity. Everyone nodded in agreement as soon as they heard her words, all thinking that Han Shuo had naturally lost his mind. Even Lisa, who knew that Han Shuo was merely playing the village idiot, had a face of incomprehension, utterly shocked by how he was behaving at the moment. Brian suddenly becomes so strong after he went crazy. This is incredible. Lisa is too amazing. An agony of the soul spell turned the cowardly, timid Brian into such a wild person. Amy called out naively and looked at Lisa with emotion. "Shut up." Lisa stared directly at Han Shuo and responded sharply, her frustration evident in her tone. At this moment, Han Shuo was wielding the thick studded club and moved as fast as lightning, dashing straight for the man-eating monster. The studded club whistled strangely through the air as Han Shuo grasped it tightly with both hands, swinging it upwards in a curve and aiming violently for the monster's waist. The look on the monster's face changed abruptly from confusion to rage as it repeated its previous movement. It sent its club clashing towards Han Shuo, as if wanting to thoroughly defeat him with sheer strength. Loud clashing sounds rang out continuously between the two studded clubs. The durable club and sharp studs were all flattened after repeated clashes. The fight between the frail Han Shuo and the hulking man-eating monster became heated as the clashing sounds continued, each impact resonating through the clearing. Fanny and the others had originally wanted to escape as soon as possible, but all remained where they were in shock as they saw how terrifying Han Shuo's strength was after he'd gone mad. He was holding his own in a fight against the man-eating monster, and the crew stared gobsmacked at Han Shuo's unexpected ferocity. Dancing around with a club completely disproportionate to his body, Han Shuo displayed not even a hint of apprehension as he faced the towering monster. Firm and well-defined muscles with popping veins were evident on his neck and arms. In this moment, his expression was hideously mad. He had a sort of dauntless valor that completely upended Fanny and the students' understanding of him. In this moment, the magical yuan within Han Shuo's body churned quickly, and he felt a joyous glee in fully deploying his strength. His movements with the studded club became more practiced. And not only did he not become tired from the repeated clashes, but his vigor actually grew in strength. A few weird laughs emitted from the grimacing Han Shuo. The man-eating monster staggered backwards after another violent clash. Its originally wild attacks and enormous strength had started to falter after a few rounds of clashes, the momentum shifting in Han Shuo's favor. "Oh, my gosh, is this that weak and cowardly Brian?" Bella exclaimed, repeatedly shaking her head in disbelief. "I swear I'll never test magic on Brian again. He's too scary when he goes crazy." Athena displayed a frightened expression and muttered to herself, her fear evident. Lisa's expression was excited, and her small fists clenched tightly. She would randomly scream, "Beat him," her voice filled with a mix of fear and awe. Bach and others with a grudge against Han Shuo all displayed fearful expressions after exchanging looks. They looked upon Han Shuo with a mix of fear and uncertainty, their earlier disdain now replaced by a cautious respect tinged with apprehension. "You won't get away." After another weird laugh, Han Shuo followed closely behind the escaping monster. The thick, studded club suddenly swept forward, and with a resounding crack, the monster's two legs were broken. Han Shuo's weird laughter followed closely thereafter as the studded club repeatedly crashed down onto the monster. Ghastly wails sounded out from the previously cruel, man-eating monster, now struggling futilely under Han Shuo's relentless assault. The monster's hulking body had long since fallen to the ground as fresh blood continued spurting out of his body. The gray, strong body was a bloody mess after Han Shuo's continued beating, making it difficult to discern what it had originally looked like. These violent and savage blows rained down like a furious storm for a minute, with Han Shuo suddenly stopping after the man-eating monster had been mashed into a mess of blood and gore. He was startled by his own actions, having never imagined he possessed such a savage side. This was the first time he'd killed someone, but there was no corresponding wave of fear in Han Shuo's heart. Instead, a sense of accomplishment and control washed over him. After the expression on his face had calmed down, Han Shuo turned to look at Fanny and the students, smiling an honest smile. "He seems to be dead." Against his expectations, the students, as well as Fanny and Jean, all screamed and took 2 steps backward. When Han Shuo turned his head, Lisa exclaimed in fright and then asked, Brian, are you all right?" Han Shuo started and quickly recollected himself. He scratched his head and smiled dumbly. "What happened to me just now? Even I don't know what I did. Why did this monster suddenly die?" You've forgotten everything you've just done." Fanny was also dumbfounded and then frowned as she stared at Han Shuo in interrogation. Han Shuo nodded truthfully and explained sincerely, "Yes, I felt that my brain started to hurt a lot just now and then forgot everything that happened afterwards. The man-eating monster had already died in front of me when I came to." "What's going on?" "Yeah, weren't there 2 more monsters? Where did they go?" "You scared them off." Bella stared at Han Shuo oddly and replied, "Oh, no way. How can this be? Why would they be afraid of me?" Han Shuo asked, perplexed, and with a face full of innocence. "Brian, you become so scary after you lose your mind. Like you're someone else. Even we were a bit afraid, not to mention the man-eating monsters. Good thing you're all right now." Jean spoke heartfeltly and voiced everyone's thoughts. "Don't just stand there. Hurry and pack everything. We can no longer stay here. 2 of the monsters got away. They may come back and create more trouble for us." Fanny kept her cool and hurriedly directed everyone to clean up the aftermath upon seeing that the crisis had been temporarily averted. Everyone returned to their original places after Fanny's orders, and picked up the resources strewn all over the ground. The students had become more mature after this life-and-death experience. No one wasted time in idle chatter. They picked up and packed all the items with great speed. "I think it's time to leave and end this time's outing," Jean proposed gravely after seeing that everyone had appropriately repacked their belongings. Everyone had recognized that their strength wasn't as strong as they thought after meeting the man-eating monsters. There would be more dangers as they traveled south, and thus everyone nodded in embarrassed agreement after Jean made his suggestion. Momentarily speechless, The crew started organizing their things. They planned to bring back this time's pickings to the academy and not continue adventuring south. But just as everyone was prepared to leave, a desolate cry suddenly came from the south. The crew had packed and were about to leave, but were all gobsmacked after hearing this sound. Expressions of greed surfaced shortly afterwards, eyes widening with a mix of curiosity and apprehension as they tried to discern the source of the cry amidst the dense darkness of the dark forest.